NBA Draft Day is finally here, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at the top targets for the Raptors to consider to change their franchise for the better. Let's get into it. There are so many different opportunities for the Raptors to pursue in the 2024 NBA Draft with the 19th overall pick and the 31st overall pick. There are a wide range of positions the Raptors could be looking at, whether it be a guard, a forward, or center, and different types of players they could be looking at. They could be looking for more NBA-ready style players who are going to contribute from day one. They could be looking at some more upside candidates who are going to be more suited to higher potential down the line, but you're going to have to take a little bit more time to work with those players to get them to those levels. Well, the Raptors, with those two picks, can pursue many different angles, and perhaps those angles will give us some hints as to what the Raptors are planning for this offseason, be it a full-blown rebuild or be it more so a retool to try and get the team back on track quicker than anticipated perhaps around the NBA. But over the course of the video, we're going through my 8 favorite targets for the Raptors at 19th overall and my 8 favorite targets for the Raptors at 31st overall if any of those players do slip to the Raptors at the start of that second round on the second day of the draft. But we're going to cover everything you need to know about the draft and all of the festivities right here on Amateur Hour Sports. I'm going to be live for the NBA draft as well and for the 19th overall pick for the Raptors tonight in a live stream. So please make sure you are keeping it locked with the channel by subscribing and make sure you do hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and breakdown along the way. So we're not going to waste any time here. Here is the full list that I have of my favorite prospects. It's the annual tradition here on Amateur Sports to have my Toronto Raptors wish list here. We haven't really typically had the wish list for 2 different picks here, but every year is different. We have the 8 players listed for 19th overall and the 8 players listed here for 31st overall. So going through first of all with the 19th overall pick, as you can see, top of my list, honestly, don't really know how this came to be. When I was putting the list together, there's just nobody I wanted to put at the top of this other than Tristan Da Silva. But the 4 players that I'm very interested in 19th overall are Tristan Da Silva, of course, Jacoby Walter, Bub Carrington actually gets into 3rd on my list, and Jared McCain. I think that there's a pretty sizable gap in my interest in the players after 4th on my list once you get into the Kilo Wares, the Zach Edey's, the Keyshawn Georges. Once we get past that point, I start to like the players like a good degree less, but I feel as though the way the draft is starting to shape up here, one of my 4 guys here that I'm seriously interested in are going to slip to the Raptors at 19th overall, and in the event that does happen, the Toronto Raptors should absolutely snap up the opportunity. But let's go right to the top of the list here with Tristan Da Silva. Tristan Da Silva, sure, he's one of the older players, yes, in the NBA draft, but here's one of those guys that I mentioned. He's going to come into the league and be NBA ready and ready to contribute from day one. Knows how to score, has the experience, and knows how to play a specific role for his team. He is a deadly three-point shooter, shooting around 40% in college last season, and has that defensive versatility the Raptors have typically favored here. Look, Scottie Barnes just got a rookie max extension. Hopefully, he's going to be with the Raptors for another 6 years to come. To get the most out of Scottie Barnes' game, you need to have shooters. And Tristan Da Silva can shoot. Tristan Da Silva has great size and length. Tristan Da Silva can play defense. There is always going to be a need for size, defense, and shooting in the NBA. That's what Tristan Da Silva can provide, and it seems as though that's what Tristan Da Silva can provide from day one. I think a lot of teams ahead of where the Raptors are drafting will be interested in him, like the Sixers, like the Lakers, like the Heat, maybe even the Portland Trailblazers at 14th overall as well. But recent mock drafts have Tristan Da Silva falling even beyond where the Raptors are selecting. If he's available there, I think that this is such a great fit for what the Raptors are building here that they should snap up the opportunity and ignore maybe some of the higher upside candidates in this position. But second player on my list here, and in my most recent mock draft, I actually have Jacoby Walter slipping to the Raptors at 19th overall. Maybe more so hopeful on that front, seems to be catching a little bit of steam in the morning of the draft, but I see a viable way in which Jacoby Walter can fall all the way to the Raptors. He is somebody who brings the same sort of traits that I already mentioned with Tristan Da Silva. Not quite as NBA ready as Tristan Da Silva, especially on the defensive end of the floor, but 6'5" shooting guard with a 6'10" wingspan, definitely knows how to score, very good three-point shooter, needs to work a little bit more on self-creation, but it's another player that's ready to contribute in a specific role to a team's offense. And I think having that size in the guard position is something that's worthwhile for the Raptors. So even though he's not the most adept when scoring on his own, even though he does need to work on his foot speed and keeping his checks in front of him when he's on the defensive end of the floor. Maybe also needs to work a little bit more on using his length to his advantage on defense. There's so many great tools to work with here for Jacoby Walter that I am a massive fan of the player. Another player I'm very much hoping falls to 19th overall. The player that has been my top candidate for a while here in terms of the players I think will fall to 19th overall, because for guys like Tristan Da Silva, Jacoby Walter, Jared McCain, I don't have a great degree of confidence they're going to fall to the Raptors at 9th overall. I had that confidence with Carlton Carrington, but unfortunately seems to be picking up steam in the last couple days before we get to the actual draft. But Carlton Carrington has been a player I've been infatuated with for a while now. This is definitely somebody that fits more into the upside category for me rather than somebody who's ready to contribute from day one. But I think the Raptors can be patient and can work with him. Great size for the guard position, 6'5" with a 6'8" wingspan. Absolutely knows how to score. A smooth operator on the ball. Mostly dynamic in mid-range at the moment, but I think his shooting game is good enough that we can start to stretch that back beyond the three-point line, beyond the mark, to make him a really good three-point shooter at the NBA level. So comfortable on the ball. Isn't even 19 years old yet, so plenty to work with here. Obviously, some stuff needs to be rectified, but for a player at his age with so much upside, this is such a great candidate taking this position. This draft is lacking upside in many areas, but Carlton Carrington certainly would provide it. Rather, Bub Carrington would certainly provide it for the Raptors if he's there at 19th overall. Another player who kind of fits into both categories here, who could contribute from day one, but I think has a great degree of upside to go with it, is Jared McCain, another point guard. On the shorter side of things, he's 6'3" with a 6'3", 6'4" wingspan, but what he lacks for in height, he makes up for in intangibles and his toughness and the fact that he's such a great three-point shooter. Mostly off of just pull-ups. He is an insane pull-up threat, especially in transition. That's a difficult skill, and he's already kind of mastered that skill playing in college for Duke. Great three-point shooter off the catch. Something the Raptors can definitely work with here. Really good point of attack defender. Definitely something you're looking for in a point guard. And even though he's undersized, maybe he doesn't have the highest sample of playmaking in his college days, I think that he could play in unison a little bit with Emmanuel Quickley. The fit would be a little bit of a concern there for myself, but I think if he's available here, I struggle to see anybody more talented, so you should worry about the fit a little bit later on. Draft a player you think is the best player in that position. That player should be Jared McCain. As you can see, some other names on the list here. If the Raptors want to go center, Khalil Ware would be my guy. I've come around a little bit on Zach Edey. I just still don't really see the appeal of drafting a slow-footed center in this position here. Maybe, again, this is just a case of they see the most talented player is Zach Edey if he does fall to 19th overall. But sneaking in now is Keyshawn George. This is a popular mock draft candidate for the Raptors. But as I said earlier, the Raptors are looking for shooting. Keyshawn George provides shooting, seemingly, with what he produced in the season with Miami, while also providing a great degree of size and length to the team, especially if you're putting him at the 2 guard for the Raptors coming off the bench. Brings a good amount of point forward tendencies as well in ball handling, so I could see the Raptors liking him. But overall, what I'm looking for with this pick is one of my 4 guys here in, again, Da Silva, Walter, Carrington, or McCain to fall to the Raptors. And if they do, I think the Raptors have an incredible talent for the 19th overall position. But I think that there still is talent here available at 31. I think that this draft is being a little bit misconstrued as to the talent available. Certainly right at the top of the draft, it's lacking in talent. It's not a top-heavy draft. But this draft seems, to me, very loaded with talent in the 15 to 25 range. And if one of those guys who's supposed to be in those areas falls out of the first round, he could absolutely fall into the lap of the Raptors. Now, I made this graphic before Ryan Dunn started catching tons and tons and tons and tons of steam to the point where he could go even before the Raptors at 19th overall. But another player I'm really hoping falls, who's, again, picking up steam, unfortunately, is Jalen Tyson. Just a powerful, dynamic shot creator, uses his physicality to his advantage. Great size and handling for his position, and great ability for somebody who could be available at 31st overall. Terrence Shannon brings really good defense on and off the ball. Maybe not the most dynamic player offensively, but he brings size and defense to the team. That would be a welcome sight off the bench in the shooting guard small forward position. But the player I think that is most likely to fall to the Raptors at 31st overall that I'd like to take on is Bobby Klintman, the 6'10" wing coming out of the NBL in Australia, 6'11" wingspan. Already a decent player on the offensive end as far as his shooting to go with that length. Decent shooting, decent cutter, good base to work with defensively. The type of player that I think the Raptors could want to work with here. Brings a bit of size that the Raptors certainly are lacking in this position. So I'd be pretty happy taking on Bobby Klintman in this position. Needs to work on his positional versatility a bit more defensively, but a very good candidate for 31st overall, as are the other guys on this list. Jonathan Mogbo, my goodness, 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. Maybe the Raptors reach a little bit to take him at 31st overall, but it's the type of player Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster's front office would relish the opportunity to work with. Tyler Smith, I've fallen out of love with a little bit the more I kind of learn about him, but still a good candidate for the Raptors at 31st overall. I actually don't think he will be available there, but perhaps teams become a little bit more privy to the things I don't like about him. But overall, I think for the 19th overall pick and for the 31st overall pick, there are a lot of different outcomes that would make me reflect on this draft positively. There is a good crop of talent in these areas of the draft. It's been spun as a weak draft class, and I don't necessarily disagree, but when you get into the meat of it, in the middle of the draft, there's still a lot of talented players available and a lot of different directions the Raptors can go with. I've outlined my favorite candidates. Who are your favorite candidates? Give me your favorite player for the 19th overall pick and the 31st overall pick in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of my picks, and make sure you join me tonight for my live stream. I'll be live after the top 10 picks, so the 11th pick onwards, to cover the NBA draft right here on Amateur Sports. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again very soon, hopefully covering some amazing prospects who have joined the team and joined the organization.